So your favorite modding website, Nexus Mods, might just be going down right in front of our eyes, because if you don't know, there's been a bit of controversy from the site in the past week that could be a sign of things to come for mod authors that still use the site to host their mods. And while it's worth noting that this controversy did get resolved pretty swiftly, I still think it's worth covering in the event that this does happen to other mod authors, or if more situations like this continue to happen. So what exactly happened? Well, if you don't know, Nexus Mods was in a bit of controversy in the last week, possibly from new management. We don't know yet. This stems from one of the devs of the biggest Skyrim mod pack, Lorem, Biggie Boss, and his interaction with the community manager. He posted an update on his Discord saying, "At this time, I still have no plans to return. I am officially protesting Nexus Mods as a whole because I predict this new company is going to run the entire site into the ground. I was contacted randomly by a community manager from Nexus saying that some of my mods are breaking donation point rules. They wouldn't say who reported it, as I suspect it wasn't any actual mod authors who I've worked with, and they gave examples that made absolutely no sense. The community manager was trying to say that I think you are misunderstanding the rule. Whilst your mod doesn't contain the assets, they work off of the other mod, and as such require the correct permissions to gain donation points from them. For example, if a translation is made for a mod that doesn't allow mods to gain donation points, then that translation isn't allowed to gain donation points. The same thing for any SPID file or file that distributes someone else's assets into the game whilst not having those assets in your file. This has been a rule for a long time and has nothing to do with the acquisition." Biggie says this is a blatant lie. This would set an insane precedent that would sink the entire site into the ground. Up until now, mod authors could opt in any mods for earning donation points so long as no assets from the source mod are used. The name of the permission will you select any mod even states, and he quotes here, "Asset use permission in mods/files that earn donation points. You are allowed to earn donation points for your mods if they use my assets." Furthermore, several of the examples that the community manager gave are fully open source mods with open permissions. The other mods I've discussed with the authors before posting, or they use zero assets from the source mod. And in an additional post, he posts an example of this precedent, which he says, "Skyrim script extender is closed permissions. Based on what this community manager is saying, every mod that relies on Skyrim script extender is now breaking donation point rules unless they get permission directly from Skyrim script extender staff," which, if you know anything about modding, most, if not all, Skyrim mods rely on Skyrim script extender, just like how most, if not all, Fallout 4 mods rely on Fallout 4 script extender. So what exactly happened here? So this community manager basically accused Biggie of violating donation point rules with his mods. But what are donation points? Donation points are reward points that mod authors get from Nexus Mods themselves to redeem rewards from their storefront. These points come from a pool of money that Nexus Mods has set up from their Patreon to give to eligible authors. These payouts are distributed through a report of all mods that are available on the site and entered into the donation point system, and that is used to calculate points for each author. This is clearly used as a small incentive to reward creators for their work. With these points, authors can redeem things such as game keys, PayPal deposits, or even charity donations. The help article that discusses the eligibility requirements for mods to be considered for the donation point system, specifically honing in on the files section. If we read here, it says a mod that is eligible for the donation point system has to fulfill one of the following criteria. It consists of only your original work, and or assets which are cleared for general commercialization, or it consists of the above and or assets that are not your original work and that are not licensed for general commercialization, but for which the asset authors have given you explicit permission to opt into the donation point system. Such permission can come in the form of the predefined permission setting on the mods page, including assets you want to use, or the permission obtained from the author of the assets, which means you ask them for permission to opt into the system while using their assets, and they responded with yes. So these rules essentially state that the author cannot use assets of another mod within their mod for their mod to be eligible for the donation point system. This is also listed in the permissions drop down within a mod listing on their website. You can see here it says asset use permission in mods/files that earn donation points, and some of these are activated, in which they say you are allowed to earn donation points for your mods if they use my assets. So that would mean that you are able to use assets from this mod that has the permission granted. The problem with this community manager's discussion with Biggie is that the examples they gave of mods he created that broke these rules were either open source, which means they had the permission enabled in the drop-down listing, or Biggie had discussions with the original authors prior to posting, or no assets were even used from another mod author at all. An example of what Biggie provided of what the community manager is telling him that he uses Skyrim script extender, which is the basis for most, if not all, mods for Skyrim, which I stated. And Skyrim script extender has its asset use permission and mods/files that earn donation points permission disabled. So that means mods that directly use assets from Skyrim script extender are not eligible for earning donation points without getting permission directly from Skyrim script extender's authors. So because Biggie has mods that do not use assets from Skyrim script extender, that means he is able or should be able to receive donation points for his mods since they're not directly using assets from Skyrim script extender. Now, because of this happening, Biggie and others attribute this to the company that is newly acquired, Nexus Mods. If you don't know, a few weeks ago, the original owner sold the site to 3 community members due to burnout and stress. I originally thought that the original owner, Dark One, sold the site off to well-known members of the community and not a company, which turns out that wasn't necessarily the case. So it turns out 2 of the new owners, as mentioned on the update post, Foldino or Victor Follman and Rapsack or Marinus Elgard, apologies if I'm mispronouncing your names, co-founded a company known as Chosen. This can be seen on the sticky note attached to Dark One's goodbye announcement where Victor Follman mentions Chosen. This can also be seen on Victor Follman's LinkedIn profile right above the entry about the Nexus Mods. So what is this Chosen company and what do they do? And why do people have such a big problem with them? The company is all about basically monetizing the games industry in a way to create sustainable companies and utilizing AI in the industry as a pipeline for financial growth. And you can see this in the screenshots that I'm showing you now, where on Victor Follman's LinkedIn page, he discusses using AI to generate millions of dollars within the AAA game industry over the next couple years. And he also posted a gaming startup monetization cheat sheet where he tells others how exactly they should monetize video games, which is a bit of a red flag. We don't like that over here. It's given EA. However, despite Victor and the other owners' words of not changing anything or lowering monetization, the intention behind Chosen worries many users of Nexus Mods. The situation with Biggie makes this a little more troubling, especially if you consider if this community manager is doing something that is a part of the new regime. But what does this all mean? So the community manager's examples to Biggie have implications that are detrimental to authors on Nexus. This sets a precedent that the staff of Nexus can dig into older mods created by an author and deem them unfit for donation point eligibility, even if the mods had all the necessary permissions, or rely on other mods such as Skyrim script extender or Fallout 4 script extender, for example, for functionality. This would likely discourage mod authors from uploading or hosting their own mods on Nexus, which has already been happening since the ownership change, as some authors are protesting the new owners and removing their mods completely from Nexus Mods and hosting them other places. So to play devil's advocate here, this could just be one community manager with a lack of understanding of the rules, which we kind of saw in the update that this was most likely the case. And this could also not be a result of the new regime, but just one bad actor, which this was also proven true in Biggie's update post, where he stated that a different staff member of Nexus looked into it and found no wrongdoing and reinstated his donation points. They also explained that they will be going over the situation with that community manager and making sure this doesn't happen to other mod authors. While it's great that action has been taken on this matter pretty swiftly, it's really important to note that this or something similar could still happen to other mod authors. We've seen this happen on other platforms like YouTube with the whole Corey Kenshin and Markiplier situation, if you guys remember that. So I think other mod authors should still be aware of the situation because it could still happen. You never know. Another important piece of this is that the general outlook of the Nexus sale to Chosen's owners is still one of extreme caution. As I stated before, several other mod authors are removing their mods from the platform entirely in protest of the sale, and a situation like this can only cause more anxiety for mod authors. I I think it's very important that the new owners take steps in reassuring the site's users and mod authors and maintaining a level of major transparency going forward to keep the mod authors on the site, because if you have too many situations like this one, people are going to leave in droves, and then eventually you'll have way less mod authors on the site, which they basically keep the site running. But anyway, if you enjoy videos about mods, especially Skyrim mods, you can check out my last video about the biggest upcoming mod for Skyrim. And with that being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.